Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's sports podcast. Now, I'm sorry this week's podcast is a little bit later than usual. It's Sunday, the 21st of March, 2021. It's been a busy week for me, obviously, with Cheltenham being on. It's meant that I had a lot of time spent doing bets and things and keeping an eye on what's going on at the races. So we're a little bit further on than normal, but hopefully we're back till Friday next week. So we've got a lot to go through this week. Hopefully I'll get it all in a reasonably short space of time. I think we probably should start with Cheltenham actually, because it's obviously been the main sporting event of the week just past. My personal highlights were seeing Tiger Roll demolish the rest of the field in his race. It's obviously a shame that he isn't going to be taking part in the Grand National, but it appears he may well be racing in the Betway Bowl at Aintree, so at least you'll get to see him if you like to see him run. Rachel Blackmore becoming the first female jockey to win the leading jockeys trophy. She did a fantastic job. I think she won 6 altogether. That's more than Britain won overall. I think the final score in the Presbury Cup was Great Britain 5 and Ireland 23, which just shows the state of English racing or British racing in at the moment. And there's inquiries and things going into that now as to where we need to improve, but it's been coming for a long time. Ireland have had the upper hand for quite some time now with the top trainers. Obviously Willie Mullins had a good festival. Gordon Elliott obviously wasn't allowed to have any runners, but Denise Foster replaced him, and they basically were Elliott's horses and they did really well. So also mentioned to Jack Kennedy, come runner-up in the Top Jockeys Trophy. So Ireland's jockeys did really well, the horses did really well, and they're very pleased about it all, especially with St Patrick's Day falling in the middle of the festival as well. So there were some of the highlights from the festival for me, and obviously now we move on to the Grand National meeting at Aintree in I think it's 3 weeks' time, so something to look forward to there for all you horse racing fans. Moving on to football now, and we've already had the first 2 quarterfinals of the FA Cup. So Manchester City beat Everton fairly comfortably in the end 2-0. Everton tried to defend basically, hoping to get a goal. It didn't work, and Man City brought De Bruyne on and he finished them off pretty quickly once he came on. And in the other game, Southampton comfortably beat Bournemouth. I think it was 3-0, but it could have been 5 or 6. They had 2 goals disallowed, and Bournemouth were totally outplayed and outclassed, to be honest with you. So maybe they aren't going to be good enough to come back up to the Premier League. They are struggling a little bit actually, and they're not. I think they might be just outside the playoff place or very on the cusp of getting into them at the moment. So they aren't doing as well as I thought they would. So it'll be interesting to see whether Bournemouth can actually make it back into the Premier League or not. But on yesterday's showing, they probably aren't going to be good enough. Today's other 2 quarterfinals. We've got Chelsea, Sheffield United at lunchtime, and then the tea time kick-off is Leicester City against Manchester United. That'll be an interesting game as well. So we're shaping up to see 4 of the very top teams, or well 3 in Southampton. Sorry, Southampton fans, in the semi-finals as it goes. Because I can't see Sheffield United beating Chelsea. Whoever wins out of Leicester and Man United are a good team anyway. So yeah, we've also got a couple of Premier League games today. We had Leeds beat Fulham on Friday night, and more poignantly last night, Brighton beat Newcastle 3-0. Now, you'd have thought that Newcastle might have been buoyed a little bit by Fulham's defeat to Leeds on Friday night, but it didn't seem to show, and they've got a lack of quality in the players they have available to them at the moment, and they really struggled. And I do fear for Newcastle as to whether they can hold off Fulham in terms of remaining in the Premier League this season. We've still got quite a few games, so I think about 9 games to go yet, but they really are going to find it tough. It's going to be a close run thing. It may well go to that very final game of the season when Fulham play Newcastle at Craven Cottage. It's going to be very interesting if it does go down to that game. So keep your eyes on that one. Today we've got West Ham and Arsenal. I think it's 3 o'clock kick-off, and then we've got Villa against Tottenham, and rearranged game from when they had the COVID outbreak at Villa. That's at 7:15. Tottenham took a lot of criticism after the game on Thursday night when they lost in Europe. They just looked disinterested, to be honest with you. They've fallen apart. There's been lots of comments by the players saying they're not harmonious within the dressing room. It symbolises what's going on at the club at the moment. That's very worrying. And I'm not actually sure if it's down to Mourinho. I think it may be down to the players. You know, their attitudes of some of the players, and there's been a lot of changes and switches. Mourinho has made some changes to the teams, but it makes you wonder what the true story is. I'm sure it'll come out. So keep an eye on that one. The only fear I have for Villa is that if Grealish doesn't make it, is hopefully might play in this game or some part in this game today. But Tottenham will be up for it massively and will get the backlash of it, which this is what happens in football sometimes. And as far as the West Ham Arsenal game is concerned, it's West Ham are at home. It's at the London Stadium. Arsenal had a really good result in terms of qualifying for the next round of the Europa League, but we got beaten at home by Olympiacos on Thursday night. and West Ham. Obviously, it's a London derby as well. West Ham are doing really well. I can see West Ham possibly winning that game because Arsenal are still a little bit sort of like soft in the centre, aren't they? You've got some great players, but they don't always perform every week, and they've got some nice flair players, but they still have a tendency to not be able to get around and do the dirty jobs when they have to. So we'll see what happens in that game. So I'd like to see Villa win. I think it'll be hard against Tottenham, and I can see West Ham beating Arsenal, but we'll see what happens, won't we? So obviously the past week we just witnessed the latest rounds in the Champions League and the Europa League. So in the Champions League, Manchester City have been drawn against Dortmund in the quarter-finals. Chelsea have been drawn against Porto, and Liverpool have been drawn against Real Madrid. And the other ties, Bayern Munich against PSG. So they're the ones that people want to avoid. But because they've already made the draw for the semi-final, Manchester City know that if we do get past Dortmund, they're going to be playing either PSG or Bayern Munich in the semi-finals. And like I say, because of that, Chelsea could possibly be facing Liverpool in the other semi-final if they can all get through. I think most teams probably wanted Porto in that draw. And in terms of the Europa League, we've got Manchester United being drawn away to Granada in the first leg. And that's going to be an interesting one. Granada we don't know a lot about really, unless you watch Spanish football regularly. I think it's probably one of the easier ties. I think that they wanted most teams have wanted Granada. Arsenal have got Slavia Prague. Slavia Prague got past Rangers in a very controversial match, controversial circumstances because of accusations of racism against one of the Rangers players, or more than one of the Rangers players, and also a horrific tackle by Kemar Rup on the Slavia Prague goalkeeper. I don't think it's clear as to whether he intended it or not. It's difficult to see if he's actually looking at the player or the ball from the stills I've seen, but the injuries the goalkeeper left with were very nasty, I've got to say. And it all ended a bit of a sour note for Rangers, to be honest with you, in that match. They've actually got Celtic today in the Old Firm derby, and that kicks off at 12 o'clock. Celtic will be trying to prove a point, I guess, that, you know, even though Rangers have taken the title and got the 55th title, they still want to prove that they're better than them, and they'll try and beat them. But does it really mean anything? To most people outside Glasgow, probably not, I've got to say. So, moving swiftly on from that. So, it covered most of the football, apart from I've mentioned that Halifax, FC Halifax Town, lost 1-0 at Eastleigh yesterday. It was a disappointing performance. I watched it on the live stream, and we didn't play very well. We had very few shots, but we're down to the bare bones in the squad at the moment with a lack of strikers. Jake Hyde hopefully will be back within the next week or so. Jamie Allen goes away to play with Montserrat after I think he may have already gone actually. So he'll be missing for the big game against Sutton at home next Saturday, the league leaders. That's going to be a tough match anyway, even with a full squad. We just seem to be struggling with one or two injuries and keep recurring. You know, Jack Earing, key player in midfield. We've already lost Luke Summerfield long term, and hopefully he'll be back in the next few weeks actually. But Earing seems to make it click in midfield for Halifax, and missing him yesterday, we seem to be devoid of ideas somewhat. I'm not saying the players weren't trying, because they were. They put in a really good shift. We just seem to have a lack of quality. And there was one mistake where we just left Tyrone Barnett totally unmarked in the area, and he smashed it into the net, and Sam had no chance. So it's one of those games. It weren't very good. We lost 1-0. Move on to the next one and try and get back in the top 6, because we've dropped down to 8th after yesterday. So that wasn't great. Still sticking with local teams in Halifax. It wasn't a good day for Halifax because the first game of the season for the Halifax Panthers in the Rugby League Challenge Cup took place last night at the Shane. They got beaten by 19 points to 6 by Batley Bulldogs. Disappointing performance by the sounds of it. I didn't watch it, but people who paid to watch it said they were really disappointed. They lacked leadership. People were complaining, but people like Scott Morrell, Steve Tyrer, Grady, they've all left, and I'm not saying it's the quality of the players, but it's the experience they had, and they lack some leadership on the pitch. I think I think it's a bit early to be writing them off already. It's only one game into the season, but we'll see how they go on after a few more games. The new signing Greg Worthington didn't play, so that was a miss for them as well. They got Nick Rosethorn back from OKR, so hopefully they'll improve the squad, and we'll see how they perform over time. There's some more Challenge Cup games today. I think some of them are on BBC, maybe on the Red Button or the iPlayer or whatever. And Bradford Bulls are playing Featherstone. That's probably the standing out game from today. York have already beaten Sheffield on Friday night. And the Super League season starts next weekend. So keep an eye, Rugby League fans, keep an eye out for that. In cricket, England ended up losing the 5-match T20 series out in India 3-2, despite winning the toss in 4 of the matches and batting last. They were unable to chase down the totals in the last 2 games. The 4th match was, I think, lost by 8 runs. The last game we lost by 36. At one point yesterday in the 5th game, I thought when Milan and Butler were going so well that they were going to pull it off, and they were going so well, but after they were out, it just collapsed away really. And although Stokes and Curran tried a little bit at the end, it just wasn't enough, and they fell away. It was disappointing, but having said that, India are the number 1 team in the world in T20. We're number 2, but it was in India in their conditions, and it's given valuable experience ahead of the World Cup, T20 World Cup, which takes place also in India. I think it's in October and November. So, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. We've done well, and now we move on to the the One Day International Series, which I think starts either Tuesday or Wednesday. I've just seen the advert on TV saying it starts at 7:30. So keep, have a look on your TV schedule if you want to watch that. It's 7:30. I think it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. Moving on from cricket now, and we're going to talk about stock cars and speedway. Stock cars, the fixtures for the season were released on Friday evening. And the big talking point from that was the fact that there was no venue announced for the World Final at the start of September, which is suggesting it may well be taking place at Odsal Stadium. We know it's not up and running yet, but they have got 5 or 6 meetings in the schedule already, including the National Series Shootout Final on the 13th of November. So it'd be interesting to see if there's going to be an announcement about the World Final and where it's going to be held on the 3rd of April. Now on the 5th of April, I believe that Star Tracks and Steve Reese's team at Odsal are planning to put extra tickets on sale for the very first meeting on the reopening, which is on Monday the 31st of May at 6 p.m. They've sold 2,000 tickets already. We're hoping to increase it to 4,000, I believe, and those extra 2,000 tickets are likely to go on sale on the 5th of April, which would tie in with the announcement about the World Final on the 3rd of April, because they may say they'll put the tickets for the World Final on sale at the same time. That would make sense to me, but keep your eyes peeled for that. In terms of speedway, there's been a lot of talk about the teams this week. Peterborough have signed Scott Nichols, and the team at Peterborough have got a lot of experience, and they've been affectionately tagged as Dad's Army by one of my friends. But you look at the lineup, we've got Chris Harris, Hans Anderson, Bjarne Pedersen, Scott Nichols, Ulrich Ostergaard. They're all getting on a bit now. Then you've got Michael Palmtoft, who's no youngster anymore, he's no spring chicken. Then you've got the youngster Jordan Palin, who's obviously going to pick up a lot of knowledge from those other 6 riders in the team. So it'll be good for his development, and it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. I'm hoping he's going to be the next big thing for England, for us as Great Britain, and let's see how he gets on. But I've got a lot of faith in him being a good rider going forward, and I'm hoping he might reach the same heights as Ty Woffinder's reached, and obviously Robert Lambert's currently aspiring to get to Ty's level as well. He's doing well, so keep an eye on the Grand Prix. Also the Grand Prix dates and whether they actually take place. Poland have gone back under lockdown, so there may be some issues there with regards to the domestic season in Poland. I haven't seen anything yet, but I'll keep you posted on that if I do see anything. So I think that's just about most things I want to cover this week. I'd just like to also say that RIP to one of Leeds' greatest all-time players, Peter Lorre, who sadly passed away yesterday at the age of, I may have been in that before, at the age of 74. I believe he had a long-term illness, maybe in a brain tumour. So he was a great striker. I'm not a Leeds fan, but he was a fantastic footballer from the era of the 70s particularly. So RIP Peter, and all the thoughts are with your friends and family. So I know it's a bit of a sad note to end on, but I think I've covered most things I want to talk about this week. If I've missed anything, leave a comment below the video on YouTube or on Facebook. I hope you've enjoyed this as normal, and I'm hoping to be back with the report again next Friday. And so until then, bye for now.